practices the Dhamma. So I'm honored to be here to speak about what did Buddha say about the women's rights. So much merits for Brother Leslie for inviting me to talk on this topic at Buddhist Maha Vihara. So this is a bit of a tricky topic, but I researched into it because of that kind of the trickiness and also the word that's being used, the women's rights. So when I looked into the suttas, what did Buddha say about women and how he worked with them and what was his position on this subject, I actually found that Buddha never spoke about rights of anyone, not only women, but he didn't speak about rights of anyone. But instead, he spoke about the duties. Each and everyone in the society, he pointed out that if they look after their own well-respected duties, that we can have a society full of people who can live in harmony and with peace and with happiness. Because it's looking after our own duties and performing them well with care that will help one another. When we fail to do this, then the problem starts. Then the aggressiveness comes as one wanting to protect their rights. Because when the duties are not performed, so a lot of the time what happens, the underprivileged, the weak ones gets pressed down, oppressed. It is in the human nature and also it's in the nature that when one is not developed with their goodness and wisdom, they tend to use their power to use others to look after themselves. This is what's happening in the animal realm. The strong animals will eat the weaker one for their survival. So it is a quality of the underdeveloped. When someone is not developed, this is how the natural behavior is. The powerful using the weak for their benefit. So when it comes to the human beings, we also have evolved into different status. Not everyone's goodness and wisdom has developed to the same level. Not everyone is good. We still have our animal nature, like Bhante Punaji calls, our animal mind is still very active. So, among human beings, if they have not taken any steps to develop their goodness, their intelligence, their wisdom, they still have very powerful animal nature in them. They can be very selfish, very emotional, and then the tendency will come with that selfishness to look after oneself with the expense of the others. Because when one is selfish, there's no thoughts about others. They don't think about the others. There's no caringness, there's no love, there's no kindness, there's no compassion in them. All what they think is about their survival. How am I going to survive? So, with that selfishness comes all the evil qualities, and they become the center of the universe, and they think they can use everything else for their benefit, for their survival. So, we can see this. If you open your eyes and have a look around, you can see these differences in people. People who are developed and who are not yet developed in their mind. Mahatma Gandhi says, it's a very interesting thing. He points out that you can judge a nation by watching how they treat their animals. That's very interesting. It's not that he's talking about, animal rights or love for the animal, but he's saying the way the human beings, the most powerful beings on earth, the way they treat these weak animals who have got no voice, who have got no choice to protect them, who is very vulnerable. The way you treat these weak beings, you can judge that nation by looking at, watching how these people treat their animals. It's very interesting. So, when you think about the differences in countries, we have these developing countries and developed countries. It's very interesting to see how their social welfare works, how they treat one another. If you study, it's totally different. Me, coming from the background, from Asian background, born in Sri Lanka, grew up there until about 20. Then I happened to land in a Western country, in Australia. Then I could see the difference in how human beings treat each other in a totally different way. So that actually shows the status of the man's mind, how developed or how undeveloped their mind, the way they run their country, the way they bring the rules, develop the rules, the way they decide to form the social welfare, what is their most interest, and politics, what is their interest, and how they run the countries. Now in Western countries, in their budget, they spend so much to look after the invalid, to look after the people with disabilities. And in fact, it's a law that any public building they make, they have to have a ramp for wheelchair access. And so it's amazing to see how much care, how much attention they give to these vulnerable people, to the disabled. And then they spend a lot of money to take care of the aged, old people, again, who are considered as weak to their physical frailness. And then they also spend a lot of money to look after single mothers, where in Asian countries the woman will have to hide their face if they don't have a husband, if they are not married and they have children. Not just the society support, but they look down upon them and think, they are a disgrace. And a lot of the time, so women suicide, or they actually, throw away these children, they abort. And if they carry through, then they will give their children to someone else. They will not want the society to know. And if the society gets to know, they go through a very hard time. To the level where they don't want to face the world anymore. But in a Western country, this situation is looked in a different angle. They see as, this lady needs help. This woman needs help. She's alone with a child. We need to give hands. So they have a lot of supporting systems from the welfare system through the social security. So like this, there is a big difference the way they treat the weak people, vulnerable people, and also you will see how much voice they make about animal rights, these Westerners. So they care for them also very much. So this shows us the status of the person's mind, how developed it is or how undeveloped it is, the way they treat the weak and the vulnerable. So during Buddha's time, when Buddha was born in India, at that time, so looks like the society was run by the most powerful people, the men. Men are physically strong, and also mentally they are strong too, because they were brought up with the conditions that they could be strong. They were trained that way, even giving the education and the nourishment and everything was mostly given to just for men. So the men grew strong, and also they were educated, so they could use their brain more, they could think rationally and act rationally. So they gained the higher status in the society. They had the upper hand and they were running the society. It was a patriarchal society. But it seems like even though men were physically strong and they being educated, looks like there was a bit of a problem about their goodness and the wisdom. The way they were treating the animals, the way they were treating the women is evidence. It's very clear. The women were given the status of like a slave. They were put down to the level, they were just like the cleaner in the house. They were only good enough to cook and to bring up the children and raise the children. So they were just housebound with the lowest kind of the jobs they thought that they are capable of handling. In the Vedas, there was this priest called Manu who wrote a lot of the code of discipline for them, or the rules. And in that rules, one rule is the woman and the slaves and the low caste people should not be allowed to read their scriptures, because at that time mainly it was the priests who were teaching. So women were not allowed to get the education. Not only the education, not only that they would send them to learn, like today they send them to the school, not only that they could learn anything, they were prevented from reading all their spiritual scriptures also. And also, in that code, there is another place where they say the woman always have to be under the guidance of a man. When they are young, the father must be the one to control them. Then when they grow up, it should be the husband. When they grow old, if the husband dies before them, then the son should be the one to have authority over them. There is a reason also for them to write in this way. One was that they saw not only women were physically weak, but they were very strong in their emotions too. They saw that. So instead of remedying that and teaching them how to deal with these emotions and also how to get rid of them, and also giving them a hand as to how to develop their rational thinking, so they can think rationally and act rationally without being emotional. But that was not done. They were not guided. They were not given any help. They only saw the weakness. So they took very harsh steps as to just keep them in the closet. You stay in the house. If you come out, it will be problematic for the society because you are emotional and you are weak. So no use. Stay home. So that is how it was during the Buddha's time. Women were treated like nothing. They were not even considered as, they are equal part of the men, or like they are also another human being. No, they were not treated that way. So after Buddha got enlightened, what did Buddha do was, Buddha actually pointed out when people ask questions, he always pointed out that women were not lesser than men. They were equally capable of contributing to the society's welfare. There was a custom in India where if the wife gave birth to a daughter, the first child, if it happened to be a daughter, they took it as a very bad luck, and the husbands would try to kill that child. A lot of the times that happened. And it's evident in the suttas too that was going on. King Kosala came to see Buddha. And when they were having a discussion, someone, the messenger, came and told the king, "Oh, your queen, beloved queen, gave birth to a daughter." So the king got very upset and angry, and he was like, "I know what to do with it." And he was just about to, go to either to kill or to do whatever. Then Buddha stopped him and spoke to him and said, "King, the daughters are better as the sons. And even sometime, these daughters can be much more better than a son. They can perform better than a son in some ways." And he pointed out, this daughter can be a mother even to a king or even to an emperor. She can be a good queen to a king. So like that, then Buddha pointed out the value of this daughter, and he said the daughters are good as the sons. So he straight away said this to the king, of the one who is ruling that country. So you can see how Buddha was trying to enlighten the ignorant, because in their head women are not good. They are not capable of anything. It's a waste. The time and energy and food that you put on them is a waste. But Buddha started educating that society from the top to bottom, bottom to the top. Then he pointed out the duties. In a society, we all have men and women. He pointed out what is the duty of a man and what is the duty of a woman. And then specifically in the Singalovada Sutta, Buddha pointed out the duty of like the parents to the children. So parents means he was speaking to the mothers as well, not only to the fathers, because at that time it was the father and the son who was the most important, and everything rotated around them. The father will do special things to the son, and they will only educate the son, and they will only give the wealth to the son. Even to today I heard, even in Chinese families, some of my devotees said, Venerable, I can't believe this, my father only gave all the inheritance to my brothers. He didn't even think of giving me until, when he fell ill and I was the one to look after, not those brothers. Then he changed his will. So it still continues. So it was like the father's main attention was only the son. Children didn't mean son and daughter. It was the son. So they just did their duties, looked after the son very well, and even feed special food and give them education and give the inheritance to them. And also they would expect the son to carry out all the spiritual rituals and things after they die and share the merits with the father. So it was only the son who can look after the parents. When they grow up, they expect the son to look after them. And also, not only that, after they die, it is the son who will help them to ascend to heaven, look after their well-being after they are dead. But Buddha pointed out in Singalovada Sutta how the parent should look after, or what is the duty of a parent towards their children. He used specifically the word children. So children means the son and the daughter. And it says in that, you have to educate them, you have to open their eyes, you have to help them to avoid the evil, you have to educate them how to do good, how to be good. And when the time comes, you should help them to find a good partner. And when the time comes, you should transfer your wealth to your children. And when it comes to husband and wife, it's very clear what Buddha was instructing to the parents was for the both genders, to the son and the daughter. Now you can see here, Buddha is teaching the husband and the wife their duties. So Buddha said to the husband, you have to be loyal and faithful to your wife. You have to look after them with a lot of respect. You have to be courteous to them. You have to provide ornaments and garlands and things to the woman. They like to be beautiful. So you have to keep them happy. And this is what I find very interesting. Buddha says, outlines the duty to a husband is, one of the most important ones is that you must hand over your income. Whatever the money that you earn, you must hand over it to the wife, and you must give the authority to the wife to run the household business. Whatever the affairs in the house, she must have the authority. You must give the authority to the wife to look after all the household business. You must hand over your pay packet, and she should be the one to decide how to spend it. That's very interesting. And then when it comes to the wife's duties, Buddha is pointing out again, saying, you also must respect your husband. You should treat him with love and kindness. You should perform all the duties that's expected from you, and you must be loyal too. The loyalty didn't go on in one side. Normally in other religions, even though it says you should be faithful and loyal to your wife, you can have a second wife. Instead of we saying they are having a mistress or having an extramarital affair, they've been given the privilege to bring that other mistress to your home, up to 4 or up to 7 or whatever, even though it says the husband should be loyal. Women should be loyal, but they are not allowed to have that advantage of having many husbands or anything like that. But here Buddha is emphasizing this loyalty should go on both ways. The husband should be faithful and loyal to the wife, and the wife also should be loyal and faithful to the husband. And here comes the interesting part. The wife should spend the money wisely, protecting the wealth without wasting it. She should spend it wisely and safeguard it too. So the administrative part and the pretty much wife is the bank. She's the banker and she's the manager at home. Not only the kitchen, not only the cleaning manager, but she's the manager of looking after your wealth, guarding your properties, the wealth, whatever you have earned. She's the one to take care of that business. And Buddha says, so she has the authority now, so she should look after her own relatives and friends, and at the same time husbands, relatives and friends, and the servants and the employees. She should be the one to look after them equally, both sides equally, and including the servants, the workers, the employees. And she should look into the husband's business. So you can't do it if that wife was not educated, right? Uneducated person can't do all these tasks. They are not simple tasks. If you look into Upasika Visakha, you have heard the name Visakha. She was the outmost Upasika. If you look into her lifestyle, you can see all these qualities in her. So she ran the business, means in a sense she was the one who was looking after all the wealth that they had. And she was the one who was ministering to all the relatives, to all the workers, and even the animals. It wasn't her husband. Husband was busy earning money and doing that job, but she was the one who was doing the main role. It's very clear in the suttas. So Buddha is saying the wife should take equal responsibility in running the household life and helping the husband, and she should use her own brain in spending the money. So you can't just keep on spending on things that you like to buy, because she's given the authority not only to look after her children, her husband, but to look after all the friends and the relatives and the employees, the servants, all of them. So she has to have the knowledge as to how to spend this wisely, and at the same time save some. And then, so Buddha, gave all these responsibilities equally. So Buddha pointed out there's these duties one should look after. So you can see, if we do our duty properly, you will gain the respect, not only the husband's respect, the children, and from the society. They will also start to look up to this woman, because they can see their capability, the capacity, how they can do things. And so in this way, Buddha always showed what we should do to not only to look after ourselves, to look after others, so we all can live in harmony as a family, then as a society, as a country, if we can follow these things and do our own duties, we don't have to speak about others' rights or our rights. Because everyone is being put on the equal pedestal. All we had to do is take care of our duties and the roles. Things will be balanced. And then, so this shows actually very clear that Buddha gave an equal stepping for the women in the society. He didn't say you are inferior, you are incapable. He just gave their place. And he said you just perform what you have to perform, your duties, take care of them. So there's no need for them to ask for the equal rights or equal this and that. It's already being, distributed, and they educated the men in that society. All his devotees would have been following this. And this is why we can see how Visakha was so busy, not only looking after her children and cooking, but looking after the husband's business and wealth and everything else. And also, it is very clear that it was the ladies who had the money and the authority in their hand. If you look into the history, you can see in the suttas the most, the highest dana that was given to the Buddha and the Maha Sangha during that time was given by queens, Queen Mallika and her daughter, and there were others, Visakha. So it was actually the ladies who actually looked after the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha the best way they can, because they had that financial support, financial authority in their hands. So not only they looked after their own business, they did so much to the society. They did so much to the sasana. It's very interesting to see there were so many kings at that time. There was this venerable lay supporter Anathapindika, but who has been given the best to the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha is these ladies. There is a dana called the Asidisi dana. It's not an easy dana to give, from everything, 500 of everything you give. That's not easy. You need probably not millions, trillions, billions to do that. But it was given by these queens and the queen's daughters and Visakha, like that. So it shows very clearly. So after learning from Buddha how this society changed and how they embraced the Buddha's teaching and hand over the power to the ladies in their own domain. And this is for the lay people that Buddha advised. At that time, there was, like I said, there was no access, not only to go to a temple or to a mosque, forget about becoming a priest. There was no access even to read the scriptures. But what did Buddha do? After 5 years after his enlightenment, when the ladies came and asked, can we also enter into your order like the monks? Can we also have the ordination to enter your order? I think the first, when they asked, it wasn't the right time. So Buddha kind of hesitated. And then later, when it was the right time, Buddha allowed them to enter into the order. That was not imaginable at that time for a woman to get that of a status. And after that, Buddha made sure that they get this teaching. So in the monks' Vinaya rules, it is said that every time when they have their Uposatha or Patimokkha recited, they are to question, is there any bhikkhunis around here that we need to go and teach them. So bhikkhunis also have to do the patimokkha, and so Buddha put a rule for the monks, the bhikkhus, that bhikkhus must teach them, must advise them, must guide them specifically on those days that they were also reciting their patimokkha. So it's in the monks' rules. And also, not just any monk can go and teach them. No, Buddha made sure it's the eminent monks. It's the good monks who had good vinaya and who had good knowledge of Dhamma, the senior monks, they only could go and teach. So Buddha made sure they get the best. And then, so Buddha also, not only that, provided this opportunity for them to learn the Dhamma, Buddha he himself taught them. And also, now there is a problem about the safety. The women have to be safeguarded because they are very fragile, very easily. There were incidences where they were raped. So you have to take care of this woman. So Buddha said to the bhikkhunis, you must live close by to the monks' monastery, where the monks dwell. You must live close by. And he asked the monks to always keep an eye on them and to attend to them periodically. So he set up those dates, like every full moon and those, what you call the Posaka days. So the monk should look after them, check on them, how they are and all that. And that gave the vibes to the society. These women who have renounced is not without a shelter, not without the protection of the men, because that's how it was at that time. The time of the Buddha, always the women was under the men's care. Remember that. So what Buddha did, he did the same thing here. So when the society looked at it, the monks were nuns, bhikkhunis were not loose women. At that time, if a woman was not under a man and they were wandering alone and they were living alone, they were taken as like loose women, not good. Only the bad woman could do that. So the Buddha made sure the renounced bhikkhunis were not looked upon like that. So they knew they were under the care of their elder brothers, the Bhikkhu Sangha. They were there. So they were under that umbrella. So they were protected. And Buddha also said to the bhikkhunis, you can't travel alone. You must have another bhikkhuni while you're traveling, because one bhikkhuni got raped when they are traveling in the forest alone. So after that he said, you have to travel alone, not alone, but with another bhikkhuni. In bhikkhuni vinaya, it allows, if a bhikkhuni is alone and she has to go to somewhere urgently, there is no other bhikkhuni, they can seek the help of a bhikkhu to go with them. But the bhikkhus can't do that. In their vinaya, so in this case, they can do if a bhikkhuni requests that. But in the bhikkhu vinaya, the bhikkhus can't just stay alone with the bhikkhuni. So there is no other nonsense or other relationships brought up. It was for the bhikkhuni's advantage. The Buddha put that rule. And also there are many other rules that Buddha had put to protect bhikkhunis from bhikkhus who were men, some of them who have come from this strong Brahmin families who they believed what the woman should be doing. So Buddha made sure by putting rules as like it's in Bhikkhu Vinaya, where bhikkhus cannot ask bhikkhunis to wash their robes. Bhikkhus can't eat any food. If a bhikkhuni had cooked it herself and in a remote area she has been cooking and the bhikkhus then can't eat that food. They have to go on Pindapat. They just can't have easy access like in the house where the wife will cook, mother will cook and they're being fed. No, Buddha stopped that. And also, the bhikkhunis are not supposed to serve the bhikkhus. When the bhikkhus are eating, it's always again the woman's role, where you will serve the man first and then eat afterwards. Buddha said, no, bhikkhunis can't serve the bhikkhus. Unless this all can be done if that bhikkhu is a relative of that bhikkhuni. That's a different thing. But as general, so they could not use these women who have become bhikkhunis now, they can't use them for their advantage. So you can see how protective was Buddha and how much protection he has given, how he had thought about these nuns and how he saw that still they can be abused, how they can put back to their old role. So Buddha stopped putting all these Vinaya rules. He protected them. And I think it's only in Buddhism that women were raised to such level where they became even eminent teachers. I don't think in Hinduism there's any priest that you can find in the history that have taught the men and the king and the, the important people in the society. But we have bhikkhunis, where sometimes Buddha, he himself has praised them. There was this Bhikkhuni Dhamma, Bhikkhuni Khema. They have been teaching the kings. And when people report to Buddha, when these kings or when this person came and asked this question, this is how they expounded the Dhamma, Buddha had said, this is exactly how I should have explained it. And there were times Buddha was directing people, this bhikkhuni can help you in that way. So, Buddha actually praised them. When they were teaching, he praised them and he showed the others that they also can be very good teachers. Not only to teach, the children and to bring up the children, they can even teach the kings. So, he helped in that way for them to, in a sense it's not helping because he was allowing them to grow naturally and show their natural potential. He was giving the hand for them to get to their potential and praised and encouraged. So in Buddhism, we have all these eminent bhikkhunis who have been even teaching the kings and who have been a lot of social work, and their names are still recorded. Find me a name at that time of, in the history where in other religions you find a woman being a priest, being a good teacher, being a good social worker. Very rare, very hardly you can find. So it's amazing how Buddha had been actually, looking after and helping and protecting and guiding them to come to their full potential. And then Buddha also told Venerable Maha Gotami, when she is about to pass away, he said, show your potential, that the psychic powers that you have gained, show that to the world. And he allowed Maha Gotami to do a display. In a sense, she manifested herself in the sky in 100,000. She became like many, not just one. She was sitting in the sky, walking, sitting, meditating. So everyone was like, wow, it was like a show, that you're watching a show. And Buddha allowed that to happen because Buddha wanted people to know that they are also quite capable of gaining even those psychic powers, which some monks even didn't have. And then he also showed the world that given the opportunity, you guide them, you educate them, you help them to manage their weakness, their emotion. So you help them to develop their goodness and their wisdom. They are capable of full enlightenment. So there were many eminent Arahat Bhikkhunis. So what Buddha did was, Buddha didn't fight, or Buddha didn't encourage women to fight for their rights. You can see how gently he was teaching them, guiding them, soft and gently. Do your own thing, do your own duties, take care of your duties and the roles. And then others will see you for who you are. And there is this instance where one son, this man came to see the Buddha because he wanted to offer something and gain merits. And Buddha saw who he was. So Buddha told him, why did you come so far looking for me? Your Buddha is at home. Why don't you take care of the Buddha at home, your mother? Because he saw this son was not taking care of his mother. But he came all the way from, where he lived to gain merits by offering things to the Buddha. So Buddha actually said, your mother is the Buddha at home. So can you get any more higher status than that? So this is how Buddha helped the womankind. And this is how Buddha saw the woman. Okay? So I think I have told enough about this. So as ladies, so I can see it's a lot of ladies here, only few gentlemen. Never ever fight for rights. No point. We don't need to be aggressive. When the word comes rights, it comes with aggression. But what you can do is do what you should be doing. Do your duties. Play your role. What comes, accept that. If something doesn't come on your way, so for some reason, the respect or whatever that you should be entitled to, if it doesn't come on your way, maybe it's due to some past karma. Who knows? We may have deprived others. Who knows? So make up your mind that way, but don't get aggressive and fight for the rights. Oh, I've been doing this, they didn't give me enough of this, they didn't respect me. Don't worry about that. Do your part properly. And then you will find for sure the rest will also be looked after. Yeah? So no rights, no fighting for rights. But anyway, so if there's any questions, you can ask.
Okay, we thank Bhikkhuni for delivering an excellent talk. Please feel free to come forward to ask questions, as today's talk is held in conjunction with International Women's Day. For recording purposes, please come forward and use the mic. Thank you. Any questions, brothers and sisters?
Brother Leslie? He's the one who set up all these questions, the topics. So.
In this day and age, where men and women earn almost equally in terms of salaries, right? How would you advise families in this modern age, as opposed to the time of the Buddha, where only one gender was the main breadwinner?
Well, I guess you have to have like a joint account and put it into one, because after you marry, you're not two people, right? They say two halves. So don't look at like this is my money, this is my hard-earned money, but look at it like our money. And then it will be the woman who will be better off, because if you're Buddhist, you should go to the Sigalova, the Sutta, and follow the Buddha's advice. And then let the women take care of the financial matters. But also make sure to educate them the other things as well, and give them the food, in a sense, to develop their mind, to develop their spiritual status, so they will understand that the money is not there for them to just to buy the makeup and the handbag and all this and that, just to beautify them, but it is there for this reason. And you also can share with them how did the Buddha, because today it seems like, not just women actually, even the men, they don't know how to spend their money wisely. People are working hard, earning money, but they don't know how to spend the money. There is a saying that it's easy for any fool to earn money, but it's only a wise man who will spend the money properly. So if you actually learn to spend the money wisely, you don't need to work so hard to earn so much money. If you know the art of spending, you can save a lot of money. Yeah? So you also should teach them the other part as well, or provide the opportunity for them to learn that how they should manage. So it's always good to go to the Buddha's principles, because we can't go wrong. So there's no prohibition for women to earn money, right? Buddha is saying you can look after the business of the husband, so they also can earn money. But then you go back to the principle, let them be the financial manager. And but make sure that they are educated and they are also developing their goodness and wisdom, so they will be not spending things emotionally, but they are taking care of it wisely. Is that a good way?
Yeah.
And while I touched upon this, it's also good for you all to know actually, because that question came, how to spend the money, because I see people don't know really how to spend the money, the hard-earned money. The Buddha's advice was, this sutta comes from Anguttara Nikaya, where Buddha is saying, you should divide your income to 4 parts. So 1/4, you should keep it for your day-to-day expenses, to bring the bread and the butter, to look after the family, the children, the servants, whoever's under you. You should have that for the day-to-day expenses. So your expenses should not exceed the means. You should be within that range. Only 1/4 you should be spending for your day-to-day things from your income. And the other 25% is for you to spend on your friends, associates, and also the respected people in that society, so that you can have a good relationship with them. For you to buy gifts and to look after these people, like if your friend has a birthday or a marriage or a funeral, or they need something, so use this portion to look after your friends and the associates and the respected people in that society. At that time it was a custom for the people to give presents to the kings, so they create a direct relationship, and you have a lot more advantage by having these people, highly respected people, being your friends. See how far Buddha thinks? So he says, put one aside to maintain, to make the friendships and to maintain these friendships. Because human beings are social beings, they don't live alone, they depend on each other. So make sure you have a good, social status. And then the next 25%, Buddha says, save it for rainy day. So that is your investment. Another 25% you should set aside as your savings, and you should keep it as a fixed deposit or whatever, should not touch. It should be there for a rainy day. And then the last portion is for you to use for charity, to look after the Sangha, to look after at that time there were ascetics, to look after the people who have entered in this path where they try to develop their goodness and wisdom but giving up their own. So those people do need to be looked after. As long as people keep on supporting them, they can work on this path. Otherwise, it's not going to be possible for them to do this practice. You can see in Sri Lanka, when we had a famine, people even didn't have to support themselves. So the monks also died, and the whole Sangha disappeared. The people who left to other countries, they survived. The monks who went to India and all that during that time. But in Sri Lanka, it disappeared because the lay people didn't have the means to support them. Somehow the Sinhalese race didn't disappear, so they survived, but they could not look after the Sangha. Either they forgot or they were going through so much, they didn't take care of them. So the Sangha disappeared. And then they have to revive it from bringing it from Thailand and somewhere else. So you can see the direct relationship. Only as long as the lay people support the Sangha can thrive. So Buddha is saying, put aside 1/4 for the charity. And what is the best charity you can do? Support the sasana. Because that brings the best results to the social scene, to the whole world. So this is how you should, divide your income and how you should spend. So that is a little bit of advice for all of you. This way, you will never go not having anything. Because what's happening here is, if you look carefully, you're using one part for your day-to-day expenses and you're saving one part, so it's 50% being set aside for you. But rest of the 50% is to give. So Buddha is encouraging that generosity, to give to normal people, to give to the higher people, in a sense pure people. So that will bring you back in 100,000 folds. Your generosity will be manifested in 100,000 folds. So whenever there is a need, it will be looked after, guaranteed. What we give is the real savings. What we give out is the real saving. So here you are saving 50% by giving out, donating it. You are actually putting a fixed deposit there. So you will never run out of money. You will never face with a situation that where you will not have your needs being met. This is my life experience. From somewhere, somehow, it will be met and done. It's not that you will be a millionaire or a billionaire, but when there is a need, that need will be looked after. That's what's needed, right? That happens as a result of you have been sowing the seeds before. You have been very generous before. And it's very clear in the sutras with the saying that. So here Buddha is encouraging you to use 50%, give away the 50%. Okay? So Buddha's loving kindness, his compassion was not just for men. Don't think like some people think, it's, the men are the ones, they should be the only ones should get ordained. Buddha's loving kindness, compassion was for all beings, including the women, including the men, and to all beings. So he kindly taught everyone to raise their status so they can live a good life here and now, and also they can gain a good birth after they die, and if possible, if they work hard, they can be free from all kinds of physical and mental suffering here and now, and they can attain Nibbana. So Buddha taught everyone equally. Okay, in every aspect. It's very interesting. Start to read the suttas. If you want to know about what did Buddha say about that particular subject, the easiest is the Samyutta Nikaya, because it's categorized that way. Like I wanted to know, what Buddha said about the women, or what Buddha said about the wealth, or how to use money, or there was a time when I was learning, I wanted to know what Buddha was teaching about the sickness, the illnesses, whether he had spoke about cancer. Actually it's there. So he has spoke about anything and everything, really. The economy, this, that. So learn. So you can use that to in your life. So you can use it practically. Whatever that the situation you are facing, you can act like a Buddhist because you know what Buddha had taught. So is there any other question? Yes?
Please come forward, brother.
Oh, just a small one. Because I always have this problem, why Buddha rejected the foster mother to become a nun when she approached him. And then only through Ananda he agrees later on. Thank you.
No, I think, everything has right time. It has to be the right time, right place. So, you can see when Mara approached the Buddha, what was happening in Buddha's mind, or what was his intentions. This is in Parinibbana Sutta. So when Mara approached Buddha straight after he got enlightened, Mara says to Buddha, well, now you got what you want. Somehow you got enlightened. You escaped my net and you got enlightened. Why don't you pass away now? You got what you want, you did it, but why don't you, disappear? And then Buddha says, this is very interesting. Buddha says, Mara, until I establish the Bhikkhu, Bhikkhuni, Upasaka, Upasika, this fourfold assembly, and until they are strong in this doctrine and they can practice and they can teach others and they can, propagate, until they are strong on this, I will not die. When the day comes that this fourfold assembly, Bhikkhu, Bhikkhuni, Upasaka, Upasika are strong and it's taken care, I will pass away. So, it was his intention from the minute that he got enlightened to establish this fourfold assembly. But the thing is, you need to understand, like I was explaining to you, the society that he lived in Buddha's time, the women were treated like slaves, like the low caste were very low. So to raise their status and then after that to protect them needs a lot of planning, needs a lot of organizing. Like the monks, the Buddha was not someone who was living in a house or living in places where they always had the doors and the windows and walls. They were just walking in the forest from this village to the next village. They were just wanderers. So he didn't have to worry about the men. They would, just sleep under a tree, wake up the next morning, put on his robe, they will just walk. Can you imagine women doing that at that time? It's very difficult for them to sleep under a tree. And it proves, even after Buddha had put the rules and he makes sure that they are not traveling by themselves, they are always to travel with someone, and they need to have a place where they can lock the door. This is in Vinaya. Bhikkhuni Vinaya, when we are spending rains in one place, our kuti should be it has to be locked. With all these rules, one bhikkhuni got raped in the kuti. And there was another bhikkhuni who got raped while they are walking in the forest. So he saw that. So he had to kind of wait for the right time. So I think the first time when Prajapati Mahagautami request that she would like to do this, maybe that wasn't the right time. And then when the time came, and not only her, then she had about 500 people behind her wanting this. So at that time it has become a social need, not only just his stepmother wanting it, it has become a social need. So he just accepted that. Now the society is ready for this. See, Buddhas don't do things just, without thinking about it. They don't say things just like that. I think it's very hard to imagine how the Buddha's mind works. So he waited until this became a social need. And then, yes. So then the people came. At that time Buddha was very strong. He had so many, he had won over so many kings, so many merchants were, falling under his feet. So when these nuns came, when they became nuns, well, there were so many people to look after them, build the monasteries, build the kutis, so they were protected. You see? And then Buddha established that the nuns always have to have respect to their elder sangha, because this is what was happening in the society, and Buddha wanted to keep it like that. So these nuns were not taken as loose women who have no protection, who have no elder brother. So they are to always pay respect to the monks, and bhikkhus, they have to listen to the bhikkhus, they have to get advice. If the bhikkhus admonish them, they can't rebut, they can't argue, they have to listen. So Buddha established that. And after Maha Prajapati Gautami accepting these Garudhammas, okay, I'm prepared to do that. I'm happy to respect even the juniorest monk. I'm happy to get advice from them. I'm happy to seek advice. I'm happy to get their admonishment. I will not argue with them. Then Buddha said, okay. You see? So probably he was just waiting until the right time. If Buddha didn't want to, there are many things that where Ananda had asked and Buddha just admonished Ananda, didn't grant his wish. If Buddha didn't want, he wouldn't have. But he saw the danger, in a sense he saw, how much care, how much effort you have to put into look after this species. If you don't, it's a big danger. It's not good for the sasana, it's not good for him. So, but he waited until it became a social issue, so let the society look after it then. Okay? Because with all this loving kindness, compassion that he had, it was not only directed at men. It was for all beings, including the women, including the poor, including the animals. And you can see if you read the suttas how he has been helping and administering across the board. Yeah? So it is with a reason that he must have refused that. Any other questions?
Any more questions?
Sorry, just what is parimukha?
Patimukha, that is the code of conduct for the monks and the nuns, bhikkhu and the bhikkhuni. So that's the Vinaya rules. And the code of conduct, and we recite it every full moon day. So we remember. And also the bhikkhunis are to ask for admonishment from the bhikkhus. If they say have any advice, or if they have seen anything wrong with the bhikkhunis, they can say that. That's the time. Okay, maybe we shall conclude if you don't have any more questions. questions? Okay, yeah?
Brothers and sisters, there's a car blocking. Can you report
Of our late chief, Dr. Kesri Dhammananda Thero, if he was alive, yesterday he would have turned to 99. So it was his birthday yesterday. So let's think of him. He is the one who brought this temple to this level from staying in a tin shed, a bushland, to this level, where you can now sit under this roof and listen to Dhamma, where you can come at any time and learn the Dhamma that can help you to develop your goodness and wisdom, and in turn to live a good life, a better life, and to not only just to live a good life here and now, but also these teachings can help you to liberate yourselves from completely from all the physical and mental suffering. So all these opportunities arose because of our late Nayaka Maha Thero. He took the leadership to come and teach and disseminate the Dhamma, not only here, throughout the Malaysia, Singapore, and even to the four corners of the world. He managed to send the Dhamma, to propagate the Dhamma to the four corners of the world by encouraging people to print the books, preserve the Dhamma talks and put them into CDs. So the service that he rendered to the Sasana, we can't just speak. There's not enough words to speak how much he had done to the Sasana. So let's think of our great late chief and share the merits with him, and also with all of your departed relatives, friends, and if there's anyone in here thinking of partaking these merits, may all these beings be able to rejoice in the merits that we have generated today. May they be comfortable, comfortable, peaceful and happy wherever they are, and may these merits bring them causes and conditions for them to gain a good birth, if they are in need of a better birth. Let's make the aspiration that may all these merits help them also to bring causes and conditions for them to attain Nibbana as soon as possible. Also, let's share these merits with the Devas. May the Devas long protect the Sasana, you and me, and may these merits increase the happiness that the Devas are experiencing, and may it last long as they wish, and also may these merits bring causes and conditions for them also to attain Nibbana as and when they wish to attain Nibbana. Also, let's share these merits with all beings. May these merits bring causes and conditions for all beings to find freedom from suffering. Keeping all these thoughts in our mind, let's radiate loving kindness towards all these beings, and let's chant Ettavata Chammehi Gatava and share the merits. Ettavata Chammehi Sabbadam Punya Sabbadam Sabbe Deva Anumodantu Sabba Sampha Anumodantu Sabbe Bhuta Anumodantu Sabba Sampatti Siddhya Akasatta Chapumata Deva Naga Mahindika Punyantam Anumoditva Chiram Rakhantu Buddhasasanam Chiram Rakhantu Dhamma Desanam Chiram Rakhantu Mam Paranti. Also, let's make the aspiration, may all the merits that we have generated today bring causes and conditions for all of us to not to associate with the foolish and the wicked, but to associate with the good and the wise arise until we attain Nibbana. Keeping this aspiration, let's chant. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satam samagamo hotu yava nibbana patiya. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satam samagamo hotu yava nibbana patiya. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satam samagamo hotu yava nibbana patiya. Also, let's make the aspiration that may all the merits that we have generated today bring causes and conditions for us to penetrate into the Four Noble Truths and to attain enlightenment as soon as possible. Keeping that aspiration, let's chant. Idam me punyam asavakkaya vaham hotu sabba dukkha pamuccatu. Also, I would like to share these merits with the current chief and also with all the other resident monks and with the committee, with the organizing committee, and with Brother Leslie, who is the organizer for this Dhammadana series. And also I would like to share these merits with all the workers here and also with all the supporters, all the devotees, and with all the volunteers, and also with all of you. May all of you and your parents, your teachers, your relatives, your children, your grandchildren, and may all these benefit from these merits. May you all experience good health and long life. May these merits bring causes and conditions for you all to find success in everything that you do in your life. And may these merits also bring causes and conditions for all of you to attain Nibbana as soon as possible. May you all be well, comfortable, peaceful, and happy. Abhivadana Sindhisa Chang Buddha Pachayano Chattaro Dhamma Vadhampi Ayurvano Sukham Vanam Ayurarogya Sampatti Sagga Sampatti Mevacha Ato Nibbana Sampatti Vinati Samejjatu. May you all have a good day and drive home safely.